Hello everyone! In this Hearthstone Journey to Un'Goro card spotlight, I want to take a look at Primordial Drake. Before Journey to Un'Goro was released, it looked like the Dragon Tale was just about to end. With Blackrock Mountain rotating out, a huge number of dragons left the standard format, and the developers didn't exactly promise that we would get new dragons in Journey to Un'Goro. However, we did get one dragon, and what a dragon it is! The Primordial Drake is an 8 mana 4/8 taunt with a battle cry to deal 2 damage to all other minions. Before the release, many people were a little bit skeptical about this. Okay, 8 mana, that's pretty big investment. But it turns out Primordial Drake is just fine. And there are 2 crucial characteristics that make it to be just fine even though it costs so much. 1, it's a big body with taunt. And 2, it has an immediate effect in the form of the AoE, completely wiping out small boards. When you compare the Primordial Drake to the classic set legendary Baron Geddon, that's also sometimes be used as a later game card that can wipe small boards. Primordial Drake has a lot of good things about it. Baron Geddon is a 2-edged sword. It deals damage to the minions on the board, but it also deals damage to your face, so if you're trying to use Baron Geddon to defend yourself against an aggressive deck, then that might not always turn out for the better. What has been a little bit surprising, I guess even to the most enthusiastic fans of Primordial Drake, is just how many decks it has found itself in. Well, the most obvious one is Dragon Priest. Primordial Drake is really the savior of Dragon Priest. The Dragon Priest deck has stabilized around 8 core dragons right now, really. There are 2 copies of Twilight Drake, there are 2 copies of Dragonid Operative, there are 2 copies of Bookworm, and there are 2 copies of Primordial Drake. So if Primordial Drake wasn't there, you still need a number of dragons to activate those dragon synergies for the Netherspite Historian and for the Bookworm. So without the Primordial Drake you would have to run like Ysera and Deathwing. You would have to run a little bit of a higher mana curve. So Primordial Drake is hugely influential in enabling Dragon Priest to shine. Also, with Shadow Visions enabling better control over combo pieces, many Dragon Priest players opt to go for a Divine Spirit Inner Fire strategy for that OTK potential. And Primordial Drake as a huge body, together with the Twilight Drake, is really a key card that enables this kind of strategy in Dragon Priest. Another deck that was clearly seen already before release that Primordial Drake would have an impact on is Taunt Warrior. And Primordial Drake is really great in Taunt Warrior. Big body, wipes out those boards, lets you use that Ragnar's hero power on the face instead of on some small minions. And it has also some really nice synergies with some Taunt Warrior builds. First of all, it synergizes extremely well with Sleep with the Fishes. For 10 mana, slam Primordial Drake, slam Sleep with the Fishes. That's a 5 damage AoE on the board. That's pretty sweet. And another thing is that Primordial Drake has also really saved the Curator in Taunt Warrior. Because the Curator needs something to pull. Okay, so the new Warrior taunts are Beasts, so okay, that's what the Curator is drawing from Beast side. But then it also needs to pull something from the Dragon side. And you can either run 2 Primordial Drakes, or maybe you can also run a Deathwing if you're so inclined. Then you could just run 1 Primordial Drake if you really like. And then you would have that at least 2 dragons, which makes it probable for the Curator to be able to pull at least one of those. Somewhat related to this, Primordial Drake is actually also a viable choice in Tempo Warrior, which is seeing a little bit of play right now as well. Tempo Warrior can run the package of the Curator, Primordial Drake and Deathwing. And there are many options for the beasts in Tempo Warrior. You could run Bittertide Hydras, you could run the new Warrior Taunts, you could even run Vicious Fledgling maybe. So the Curator and the Dragon package is also good in Tempo Warrior, thanks to in large part the Primordial Drake. What was more difficult to see before the expansion was actually here was just how important Primordial Drake would be in Jade Druid, and maybe in Ramp Druid in general. Druid lost Mulch, so hard removal is basically gone from Druid. Okay, you can run Naturalize, you can run Big Game Hunter if you're really desperate for that, but basically you don't have that hard removal anymore. Druid also lost Azure Drake, and one of the really big things about making a swing turn with Druid used to be slamming that Azure Drake into swipe, or Blood Mage Talons into swipe. You can still play Blood Mage Talons, but that's just one card, so you're very unlikely to find that combination. However, Primordial Drake gives you access to another AoE, something that Druid is also sorely missing. So while the lack of hard removal is something that cannot be really completely replaced, Primordial Drake helps with the AoE and it helps to protect your face as well. And indeed, Jade Druid has risen up again. Jade Druid is once again a viable deck, and Primordial Drake sees a lot of play in that. Another deck type that was pretty hard to predict before the release was the rise of Paladin. Paladin has really risen to become perhaps even the best class in the game right now. That's pretty surprising. The top deck right now seems to be the more aggressive type of Murloc Paladin, but there's also a significant number of Paladin players who play either midrange Paladin or a control Paladin. And while Primordial Drake is way too slow for the aggressive Murloc Paladin, it does see regular play in both midrange and control lists. And Primordial Drake has one pretty cool combination also in Paladin, because at 10 mana it goes very well with Equality. 10 mana board clear, set the health of all minions to 1 with Equality, slam the Primordial Drake, it clears out everything else and stays as a 4/8 taunt body on the board. That's pretty sweet. And that said, Primordial Drake has not had quite the influence on Paladin as it has had on Druid, Warrior and Priest, because Primordial Drake faces some stiff competition. On the 8th mana slot there's Tyrion Fordring, there's Ragnar's Light Lord. And Primordial Drake is not an automatic inclusion in Paladin. They can choose other avenues, they can use Equality with Wild Pyromancer as they have done before. So Paladin is not as dependent on Primordial Drake as other classes, but it still has a good place in many Paladin decks as well. Primordial Drake has a prominent place in 4 classes, in some of the very top decks of 4 different classes, and that's quite an achievement. So it's clear that Primordial Drake is one of the most influential cards in Journey to Un'Goro. It's a very interesting card for any control decks, any slower mid-range decks even, and it's one of those cards that is very safe to craft if you enjoy playing these slower types of decks. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the show, please click the like button and subscribe to my channel for more.